The first time Ji-Hoon Kang saw Adaeze Johnson, she was standing in the middle of a crime scene she was never supposed to witness. A man was dying. Blood covered the pavement. 3 armed men stood over the victim. And Adaeze looked directly into Ji-Hoon's eyes. For a single second, the world stopped. Then everything went wrong. Because the most feared mafia boss in Seoul should have done one thing: kill the witness. Instead, he saved her. That mistake would start a war. A war that would cost lives, destroy alliances, and force Ji-Hoon Kang to choose between power and the only woman he had ever loved. But before the bullets, before the betrayals, before the bloodshed, there was a girl chasing a dream, and a man running from his heart. Adaeze Johnson had always dreamed bigger than her circumstances. Growing up in Nigeria, she learned early that life rewarded determination. Her mother often told her, "Your future is not limited by where you begin." Those words became her fuel. At 28, Adaeze earned an international cultural fellowship that brought her to Seoul. The opportunity felt unreal. A new country, a new beginning, a new life. She arrived carrying 2 suitcases and enough hope to fill an entire city. She had no idea destiny was waiting for her, and destiny wore black suits. Ji-Hoon Kang ruled Seoul's underworld. Politicians feared him. Business executives bribed him. Criminal organizations avoided provoking him. His reputation wasn't built on rumors. It was built on results. When Ji-Hoon made a promise, it happened. When he issued a warning, people listened. And when he declared someone an enemy, that enemy usually disappeared. For years he had lived without emotional attachments. No relationships. No vulnerability. No love. Love had killed his mother. Love had weakened his father. Love had no place in his life. Or so he believed. Rain hammered Seoul that evening. Adaeze had stayed late at an art exhibition. The city glowed beneath neon lights. She decided to take a shortcut home, a decision she would regret for the rest of her life. Halfway through the alley, voices echoed ahead. Then she heard shouting. Then a gunshot. Her feet stopped. Her heart nearly exploded. Around the corner stood several men in dark suits. One man knelt on the ground, begging, crying, bleeding. Another gunshot rang out. The victim collapsed. Dead. Adaeze gasped. The sound was tiny, but in the silence that followed, everyone heard it. Every head turned, including Ji-Hoon's. Their eyes met, and suddenly she understood. She wasn't supposed to be there. She wasn't supposed to see this. And now she wasn't supposed to leave alive. Run. That was the only thought inside Adaeze's mind. She turned and sprinted. Footsteps thundered behind her. Men shouted. Vehicles roared to life. Terror consumed her. She raced through narrow streets, across intersections, into the pouring rain. But she couldn't outrun them forever. A black SUV blocked her path. Another approached from behind. Trapped. Adaeze's breathing became ragged. Then the passenger door opened. Ji-Hoon stepped out. His expression revealed nothing. No anger. No mercy. Nothing. The perfect predator. For several seconds they stared at each other. Then he spoke. Get in. Adaeze shook her head. No. One eyebrow lifted. That wasn't a request. The penthouse overlooked the entire city. It was luxurious, elegant, expensive, and completely inescapable. Adaeze spent her first night expecting death. It never came. The next day, Ji-Hoon visited. She immediately confronted him. You killed someone. Yes. His honesty stunned her. Why am I alive? He remained silent. Because the truth made no sense. He didn't know. For reasons he couldn't explain, he couldn't bring himself to harm her. And that uncertainty irritated him. A lot. Days became weeks. Weeks became months. At first they argued constantly. Adaeze challenged everything. Ji-Hoon rarely lost arguments. But somehow, she managed to frustrate him daily. Then something changed. She made him laugh. Not intentionally. Not often. But enough. And every time she succeeded, he hated how much he enjoyed it. Meanwhile, Adaeze discovered another side of him. The side nobody else saw. The man who secretly paid for children's surgeries. The man who protected struggling families. The man who carried invisible scars. The man who looked lonely even in crowded rooms. The monster wasn't entirely a monster, and that realization terrified her. Months later, they attended a charity gala. For appearances, nothing more. At least that was the official story. Adaeze wore a breathtaking black evening gown. When she entered the ballroom, conversation stopped. Even Ji-Hoon momentarily forgot how to breathe. For years, he had viewed beauty as irrelevant. Now it stood in front of him, smiling, radiant, dangerous, because she was becoming impossible to ignore. Throughout the evening, wealthy men approached Adaeze, complimented her, flirted with her, asked for her number. Ji-Hoon hated every second, and he hated himself for caring. Near midnight, a businessman placed his hand on Adaeze's waist. The reaction was immediate. Ji-Hoon crossed the room. His expression darkened. The businessman wisely removed his hand. Adaeze noticed everything, especially the jealousy. Later she confronted him. Were you jealous? No. You were. I wasn't. You looked ready to kill him. Ji-Hoon remained silent, which was answer enough. For the first time, Adaeze smiled knowingly. And for the first time, Ji-Hoon realized he was losing control. Winter arrived. Snow covered Seoul. One evening, a storm knocked out power throughout the penthouse. Darkness surrounded them. Thunder shook the windows. Adaeze hated storms. Ji-Hoon noticed immediately. Without thinking, he moved closer. Another thunderclap echoed. She instinctively grabbed his hand. Everything changed. The atmosphere shifted. The air felt different. Heavy. Electric. Neither pulled away. Neither wanted to. Slowly, Ji-Hoon lifted her chin. His gaze searched hers, as if asking permission, as if offering a choice. Adaeze answered by stepping closer. And finally, they kissed. Slow. Tender. Perfect. The kind of kiss that changes everything. And it did. Because someone had just discovered their secret. Someone who wanted Ji-Hoon's throne. And someone who planned to use Adaeze against him. Min-suk Choi had served Ji-Hoon for 15 years. Everyone trusted him. Everyone respected him. Nobody suspected him. That made him dangerous. For months, he had watched Ji-Hoon change. Love had softened him, distracted him, weakened him. Min-suk saw opportunity, and he intended to take it. His first order was simple. Kill Adaeze Johnson. Then destroy Ji-Hoon Kang. Then claim the empire. The war began that night. Gunshots shattered the silence. Assassins stormed the penthouse. Windows exploded. Guards fell. Chaos erupted. Ji-Hoon fought like a man possessed. Every attacker who approached Adaeze died. Every threat disappeared. But one truth became obvious. She would never be safe while she remained beside him. And that realization broke his heart. Because for the first time in years, he had something worth losing. The private jet waited. Adaeze refused to board. Ji-Hoon refused to change his mind. Tears filled her eyes. Come with me. His chest tightened. I can't. Then I'll stay. No. Silence. Pain. Love. Every emotion collided at once. Finally, Ji-Hoon touched her cheek. A rare tenderness. If you stay, they'll kill you. What about you? He smiled sadly. I've survived worse. But both knew he was lying. The goodbye nearly destroyed them. And as the plane disappeared into the sky, Ji-Hoon felt something he hadn't felt in years. Fear. The streets of Seoul became battlefields. Explosions. Ambushes. Betrayals. Executions. The Kang syndicate fractured. Friends became enemies. Trust vanished. And through it all, Ji-Hoon fought relentlessly. Not for power. Not for revenge. For a future. A future that included Adaeze. Weeks later, Adaeze received a message. Ji-Hoon had been shot. 3 times. Critical condition. Doctors weren't optimistic. Within hours, she was on a plane. Back to Seoul. Back to him. Back to the man who owned her heart. Ji-Hoon opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Adaeze, crying beside his hospital bed. Relief flooded him. You came back. Adaeze laughed through tears. Of course I came back. Then she leaned forward, forehead touching his, and finally said the words she had been holding back. I love you. Ji-Hoon closed his eyes. For years he had feared those words. Now they felt like home. I love you too. The showdown took place at an abandoned shipyard. Rain poured relentlessly. Min-suk waited, armed, desperate, dangerous. The confrontation ended exactly how it had to. With truth, with justice, with one final gunshot. And when the smoke cleared, the war was over. One year later, the underworld king was gone. Ji-Hoon had dismantled much of the empire, walked away from the darkness, chosen a different future. One evening he stood beside Adaeze overlooking Seoul. The city sparkled beneath them. He wrapped an arm around her waist. She rested her head on his shoulder. Peace. After everything. Finally peace. Any regrets? She asked. Ji-Hoon looked at her. The woman who changed his life. The woman he was supposed to eliminate. The woman he loved beyond reason. Then he smiled. Only one. Adaeze raised an eyebrow. What? I wish I had met you sooner. And beneath the lights of Seoul, they kissed. Not as a mafia boss and his captive. Not as survivors of a war. But as two people who chose each other. Against fate. Against fear. Against impossible odds. And this time, nothing would tear them apart.